Time for another What a Shout. We've got that weekend feeling. It's the most wonderful time of the year upcoming. Who's feeling festive? Like a kid at Christmas, because it's all about Ascot and Haydock this weekend. Another Grade 1 for you, the long walk. What a race that looks to be. We'll be getting into all of that. Who have we got on the panel for you this week's What a Shout? Sponsored by Bet365. Pat Cooney is out there as ever. Pat, we're going to come to you first. There you are.
There I am. Good morning to everybody.
Pat, are you going to be home all weekend? Are they letting you back out on the track? What's going on?
No, I think where I am, I'm tier 3. Maybe if there was a tier 4, I'd be in that equation as well. So in the house.
Okay, fair enough. Getting ready for Christmas. Graeme Rodway is here as well. I imagine you make a decent Santa. Have you ever done that? Have you ever?
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of people who think I can make a better career of it than the one that I'm currently doing. But there's always a chance, isn't there, if things go awry with the tipping and the betting, that you could end up being a Santa.
Yeah. How's the radar? Is it on target or?
It's been all right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not been too. I've been very quiet this last week. Yeah, because don't know, the ground's gone in it a little bit. It always makes things tough.
Interesting. It's also, people want their banks to be, if they're playing over Christmas, they want to be in a.
Well, this is always the big sort of weekend, isn't it? To try and bolster your bank before you get that little Christmas break and then back on Boxing Day. Yeah,
of course. This is a great card at Ascot this weekend, the Friday-Saturday meeting. Unfortunately, Berkshire went into tier 3 along with Buckinghamshire. Most of the home counties, in fact, most of the country indeed. So no spectators. They got so close, didn't they? They called the Friday as well. But the racing will be fantastic still. And with that in mind, perhaps the story of the weekend is indeed main fact in the long walk hurdle. Who better to tell us about his chances than Dave Pipe is on the line all the way from Nicholshane. Dave, great to have you on.
Good morning, everyone. Pleased to be on the show.
Lovely. Dave, things are going quite well, aren't they, since racing's resumption for you? The weekend winners have been flowing.
Yeah, we've had some great results. The horses are running well. And, it's very soft ground at the present moment. Our horses seem to enjoy that. They're running well. So we're obviously looking forward to main fact the weekend and hope the rain keeps going.
We've all got favourite pond house horses, G, haven't we? Even Martin, when he retired in 2006. You remember that bombshell on the morning line? Still one of the craziest days in racing for me, that was. It was hard not to be a humongous fan of the 15-time champion trainer, wasn't it? But since Dave has taken the reins, national winner, 10 Cheltenham, 15 Cheltenham Festival winners, get that right, 10 Grade 1 winners as well. We get some graphics up on the screen. Look at those horses that Dave has trained over the years. Have you got a favourite Pipe horse, Graeme?
Probably from all the years ago, I used to love the Real Bandit.
Oh,
I mean, he was a real star, wasn't he? I always remember there was a Friday when he won at Cheltenham, I think. It was the 3-mile handicap chase just the day before the big race last week, actually, what's now the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup. And it was like his big test to see whether he would develop into a Gold Cup horse or not. And the big front page on the Racing Post was like, this is Bandit country. And then they had David's dad, Martin, dressed up as a bandit. It's one of the most memorable Racing Post front pages of all time.
Them were the days.
One of my favourites, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What about you, Pat? Have you got a favourite pond house horse over the years?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to around about 2003 Stormez. You had a terrific time of it. You very nearly won a Scottish National. You very nearly won, several races. He was just one of those horses. He never seemed to jump very well, but he was always bang there in all the top races, had a high level of form. He was one of those horses, if he could only just jump that fraction better, he would have been a real superstar.
I adored Cypher Multi, Again, we're going back to the David Johnson family, aren't we? Those fantastic colours. But I've got one for you, Dave. It's a bit of a curveball. Let us know out there when you're watching. Get your comments below. Who's your favourite pond house horse of all the time? I've got one. Lord Atterbury, Dave. I absolutely adored him. I was at the Monty's He's smiling. I was at the Monty's Pass Grand National meeting. I'd had a terrible time punting. And I thought, right, I'm going to get it all back on Lord Atterbury. And he hosed up in a hunter chase there when they used to run a hunter chase at the meeting. Of course, you started off between the flags, Dave. He was a real star, wasn't he?
He was. You picked out some different ones from Pond House over the years. Yeah, but there've been some good horses. Yeah, Lord Atterbury. He started off point to point in Ireland, then came to England. bolted up in all his point-to-points. I thought he was a good thing in the Fox Hunters at Cheltenham. I managed to get him beat there, and then he went to my father for the Grand National and ran a cracking race in the Grand National, I think finishing 4th in the end.
He was just an absolute pleasure to get on. You know, you call them bandwagon horses, don't you? I imagine with Main Fact as well, who will get on to later on the show. Who was with him when he won the first of his 9 races? If you've been with him, it's an absolute pleasure, isn't it? We had Graeme Rodway on a couple of weeks ago, Dave. I don't know if you saw the show with John Hales, and obviously Politolog went and took the Champion Chase. We were talking about grey horses, weren't we, Graeme? And you came out with what you thought was the right thing to say, as usual. You thought that grey horses jumped better. You just thought visually there was something there. I mean, John wasn't going to disagree with you, and Politolog put up a real sight in the Champion Chase. But someone has crunched the numbers.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me that after I said that, it ruffled a few feathers, and I had a few replies. And someone did actually apparently crunch the numbers on the colours of horses and the percentage of unseated rider and falls. And apparently I'm completely wrong. Which,
what a surprise!
Apparently greys are the worst in that category, a percentage of unseated rider and falls. So there you go. But the day after, there were 2 grey winners, Politolog and the one that won the race at Aintree that was to Trevor Hemmings' horse.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Lakeview Lad.
So at least it felt like I was right. Straight
a moral
after.
victory.
But apparently chestnuts are by far the best jumpers on these statistics. On percentage of unseated rider and falls, chestnuts are up here and every other colour is down here. So are chestnuts now the best jumpers in Britain?
Well, the man who may well train the best jumper in the country is, of course, Vieux Leon Rouge, a chestnut, Dave.
Well, he is the best jumper over the Grand National fences, exactly, yeah. He comes into his own, and it must be a pleasure for anyone to ride around those fences. And what a performance he put up the other day.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? And that was some ride as well by Conor Farrell as well. Has he gone up 12 pounds, Dave?
Yes, he's gone up £12.
Yes.
11-year-old turning 12. And everyone that's spoken to me about it doesn't really agree with it, but that's the handicapper's decision.
Yeah, he took that form literally, doesn't he? I wondered about your opinion there. This is a family show, so we'll keep it at that, I think. But listen, what a great start on the show. Pleasure to have Dave Pipe on. Let's get into what we've got coming up on the show then. Hot topic. Here comes the sun. Oh, hasn't that been topical? Racing clues in the past week. What exactly has been going on? We'll get the panel's eye catchers and perhaps some word on the top performers of the past 7 days. We'll be giving you big race previews as ever, all about the long walk hurdle. We'll be giving you the big calls and, of course, the weekend winners. If you've not signed up to our sponsors Bet365, now remains a great time to do so. We've got a referral code for you. It's SHOUT365. Just type that in, deposit a minimum £5 for up to 100 bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Hot topic time then. Here comes the sun. Okay, for the last 2 weekends on terrestrial television at least, it does seem that we've been having less obstacles jump, doesn't it? Of course, at Cheltenham we've seen it. At Aintree, once again, we've seen it coming out. I've been hearing from owners who've been saying it's supposed to be jumping, for goodness sake. I own these animals, you know. So is it about the jockeys, G? What is it? You know, obviously these are welfare. I don't seem to remember it happening too often. But at Naas on Monday, we saw the card for the 2nd year in a row. They took out a lot of the obstacles there as well due to the low sun. What are we going to do about this?
Well, it's a pretty, last 10 years or 15 years, I suppose, it's sort of reared its head more than in the past. But, it's a tough one, isn't it? What can you do, really? Yes, you could possibly talk about moving races dependent on the time of day, which I think has happened in the past. But, of course, you've got to remember that you're trying to cater for the TV audience as well. And ITV have only got a certain slot that they can broadcast in terrestrial TV, and they want to get the best races in there. So it's a really tough issue. The one thing I know is that, I mean, I wouldn't want to be travelling, 35, 40 mile an hour on a horse anyway, but let alone jumping fences or hurdles with the sun in my face. I'll give that one a miss, I think. So I certainly don't blame them for wanting to take out fences when it looks dangerous. But I don't have an answer, Dave.
Interesting. Let's go to David Pike then, see what he thinks about this. Is there anything we could do about this, David? You know, there was a juvenile hurdle race in particular at Aintree, going back to the Beecher meeting that you probably saw. I heard from a couple of owners in that, and it turned into a bit of a dash, didn't it? And when they jump these hurdles, horses tend to have the freshness taken out of them. These young fillies, for example, they were a bit keen. A lot of people made the trip up to Aintree and were really disappointed. Is that right, or...?
Well, it's a difficult one. What can we do about it? I mean, I believe they moved the times of some chases before in the past, but like you say, you know, the TV have certain slots. Obviously, it's the world we live in now, whether you agree with it or not. Obviously, the horses and the jockeys' welfare has to come first. At the same time, it's jumping's the name of the game, and it does change. You know, if you're having a punt in the race, it changes the outlook of the race. You know, they took the fences out for in Native River's race at Aintree the other day, didn't they? And if those fences had been in, he might have possibly won because he's a great jumper. But it's not ideal, but I'm not sure what we can change, and I think we might have to live with it.
You mentioned having a punt there, Dave. I think you're quite right. From a trainer's perspective, when a jockey comes back in, what does he say about the form of the race? Is he like, Governor, pinch your salt, or...?
Well, you make a good point, Dave. I mean, okay, what about the jockey's perspective? What about the handicapper's perspective? You know, what does he still rate that race as if the fences were in? There was a race at Taunton last week, Mr. Clarkson in it. They doled off all the fences down the far side. So I think there was 4 up the home straight that they had to jump, and he fell at the second last, I think it was, upsides in front. Looked like he had a good chance of winning. The handicappers put him up £3.
Yeah. The scourge of the handicappers, absolutely quite right. Pat Cooney, from a bookmaker's perspective, these big Saturday races, is this going to affect turnover for the next week? Does it put punters off? People that may be coming into racing and watching for the first time, for example, which we've had the opportunity to gain interest from during this pandemic.
Yeah, certainly from our point of view, it is all about the TV races. And of course, they are nicely framed, aren't they? The big races, normally 2:40 to say 3:30. That's what the punters like. I think we're just lumbered with the sunshine. And of course, we have low flying sun, not just on the Saturday, we have it on the other 6 days of the week. So I just think we're lumbered with it. But I take on board the views that how does, handicappers assess the race? You look at bold jumpers like Frodon, you think, well, hang on a minute, I can draw a line through that run because he only jumped half the number of fences. It's technically very difficult. I don't think there is a solution really, other than just starting later rather than early and hopefully having floodlights on every racecourse. But that will cost too much money. We're just lumbered with it. It's merry old England, and it's not sunshine all the time, but it's very unsatisfactory, isn't it? And I think punters are probably looking at it thinking, I won't have a bet before racing. I'll watch the early racing and see, is there a low-flying sun? I touched on the horse Stormez of David's a while ago. He would have been in his element, missing out the odd 2 or 3 fences these days. So you've got to back horses that can adapt to the new surfaces.
As a punter, Dave, you can overthink it as well, can't you? Like last week's race at Cheltenham, the one that Song for Someone, for example, won. Oh. Now, I lost count of how many pundits in the race, just before the race, said, well, they're taking out, I think, the last 2 flights. Well, that's not going to suit Song for Someone at all. He's the best jumper in the field, the slickest jumper in the field. You know, he really wants those flights to jump. But then he went and won anyway. So sometimes this sort of stuff can get in your mind and you can overthink it a little bit. I think from a handicapper's perspective, he has to rate the race as though the fences are in. He's got no other option, has he? I mean, he's got to look at the form that he's got in front of him and he's got to rate it by what he sees, whether the fences are in or out. But yeah, it's unsatisfactory, isn't it?
Here comes the sun then, at least this weekend. It looks like it's going away. Racing clues then for the past week. Well, it was all about Cheltenham pretty much, wasn't it? And, let's go to Dave Pike then for this. I'll tell you what, look, I'm not just sort of blowing smoke up our guest, Graeme, but isn't it lovely when we go to Cheltenham, pre-festival, if you like, and we see Pond House having winners, but people of our maturity and loads of viewers out there as well. It's just all's well with the world, isn't it? And there was a double. And of course, for Professor Caroline Tinsdale, one of your big owners now, you pulled off some really nice, interesting winners.
Yeah, we had a good Cheltenham. 2 nice novices, one Make Me a Believer and Adagio. Make Me a Believer's come from the point-to-point world, and he's always been a nice horse, and he's going to develop into a lovely 3-mile chaser. So it was a good performance, beating any news over 2-mile one, and hopefully if he stays in one piece, he's got a bright future.
Yeah, where might we go with him, Dave? Will we be looking towards a possible tilt at the Albert Bartlett, or is that just us pundits once again looking towards only Cheltenham?
Yeah, well, he will end up at Cheltenham Festival, whether it be this year or next year, I don't know, but he'll probably go novice chasing this year. He'll step up in trip next time. He'll go 2.5 miles somewhere. And look, if he's impressive, then he probably will end up at the festival, but it'll still be fairly low-key this year, I'd say.
And Adagio landed hefty support, didn't he, in the opener on Saturday? It seemed everyone knew he was going to win.
Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't a great race by Cheltenham standards. We did a great job finding that race, and he duly obliged. I don't think he really had to improve much to win the race. Interestingly enough, the handicapper thought different. He put him up £6. He put him up £6 for winning that race. What is a crying shame, and I'm having to go at the handicapping system, especially in this current climate where we need to keep as many owners as we can, because in these tough times, they put the second horse up £13.
That's why I was laughing, Dave, because I knew you were going to come to that. That does. My goodness gracious me! Imagine only a second. But juvenile hurdlers in general, and their marks and their racing post ratings, which we use here, biblically, they always differ, don't they? It's a nightmare of a job, I think.
Yeah, I tend to think that the handicappers are usually right 9 times out of 10, and I can tell that it must be very, very annoying for the guy who's trained the second. But then if you're running in that sort of race with a horse who you think is off a half decent rate, I can't remember the name of the second, don't even. But I always think, you're almost sort of asking for a rise. If you go in that sort of race and you run well, you sort of must half know as a trainer, well, if I run well in this race, I'm going to go up. So I'm thinking to myself, well, you've got to be a little bit careful with the way you place them. As David said, I mean, I think it was a weak race, that race.
Yeah.
And
Historic Heart was second.
Yeah, it seems fairly harsh, to be honest. But I haven't had enough time to look at that race and make a sort of informed decision about it. But one thing I would say is that Tom Scoot rode that Adagio, right, with so much confidence. I mean, Dave, you must have thought it was an absolute certainty. I mean, he rode that horse like he could never get beat on him. And coming down the hill, I was like, God, he's giving these loads and loads of rope, and he's travelling like an absolute express train. But didn't he go away and win? Yeah,
I mean, he looks like a sort of Triumph horse, Dave, doesn't he? I think.
I think he's still got to improve a bit, but we learned from him getting beat the time before. We took it up too early and we got outstayed by Dufflecoat, Gordon Elliott's horse. So hence we rode him with more restraint this time, because it was around the more galloping track as well, over half a furlong further. So, but I think at the same time, he only got gelded a while back, and I think he's improving all the time.
Lovely to have the insight from these Pond House runners. Tom Scoot, let's talk about him, because Paul Keeley was in the studio last Friday. Keels, if you're watching, take a bow. Sky Pirate. How on earth did that win like that, with Tom Scudamore winning another big one for John Joe O'Neill? I mean, what on earth? Dropping back to 2 miles. He missed the cut for the Caspian Caviar. Loads of people fancied him in that. I didn't. I thought it was an absolute thief. And of course, they rode him cold, and he comes up looking like masterminded. Ridiculous scenes.
Well, it's funny, isn't it, right? Because the reason that sort of put me onto Sky Pirate was that I watched, like I say, the way that Tom Scoot rode Adagio.
You backed Sky Pirate?
I backed Sky Pirate, but only on this weird logic, right? I watched the way that Tom Scoot rode Adagio, and I thought, wow, Tom Scoot must be riding with so much confidence, because like David said, I mean, they held on to him, and I thought, what's he doing here? Is he giving these too much rope? And then he went away and won easily. And I thought, Tom Scoot must be riding absolute chock full of confidence. I bet he does the same thing on Sky Pirate. And that, of course, is exactly the sort of ride that Sky Pirate needs. He needs to be held up, and then, come through off a strong pace. And sure enough, again, it was another exhibition from Tom Scoot, wasn't it? He
Yeah.
just held him off the pace beautifully, and he cruised through and won easily. Incredible, really. It's funny because he's going to tie into the big shout that I've got later.
Well, Kills's thought was that he'd go off and make it, but he looks like he's reinvented himself, doesn't it? Let's go to Pat Cooney then. Talk about Chatham Street lad. Mick Winters coming over. Did we see that coming? We didn't.
Not really, no. I certainly don't think we were penciling him for a 15-length route of the field. And I think there were 3 Irish horses came over at the Cheltenham 2-day meeting, weren't they? And 3 of them won, and they were all fancy prices. He looked a real superstar, this horse. I think he won entirely on merit. The trainer is a bit of a figure of fun, really, but he certainly can train. He's got a cracking record in Ireland. He's trained some really good horses, winning good races. I just think he was one of those horses. His form was a bit indifferent, wasn't it? He had a good run, a mixed run. And I don't think we took him too seriously, but he could be named the winner a long way up. Very much a trainer to bear in mind that he comes from Galway, the Galway Hurdle and the Galway Plate, and the races he probably maps out to win. But he's hard to understand, but he can certainly train.
He absolutely is. Yeah, 151 Chatham Street lad has gone up to now. Okay, there were your racing clues. First of the big race previews then. Let's kick off with the Grade 1 Long Walk Hurdle. Always a great race. It's one of the centerpieces of the jump season. Ascot, my favourite jumping track, probably one of my favourite races. I can remember when Barracuda used to win this small field race. It used to be run on the Friday, I seem to remember a couple of times. In recent years, it has, of course, seen some barnstorming fields. Paisley Park won it in 2018, non-runner last year. He returns. You like him?
Yeah, I love Paisley Park. Yeah, he's an absolute superstar, isn't he? No doubt about it. Really still the champion for me. I know that he didn't win the Stayers Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival, but he's pretty much been the outstanding staying hurdler for the best part of 2 years, hasn't he? And he's got what I like to call the turbo, where he comes under pressure and he hits that flat spot and then he flies home. And I like to see that from staying hurdlers. And I think he sets quite a high standard, really, considering that he was given £3 a time Hill first time out. So that brings him out the best horse at the weights in that Newbury race. Now, of course, the big fascinating clash about the top 2 in the market is they're reopposing each other off level weights this time. So Paisley Park £3 better off.
Yeah.
Paisley Park looks the better horse judged purely on the Newbury form, but of course Time Hill is a lightly raced improver, only a second season hurdler, and he doesn't have loads and loads to find with Paisley Park purely on rating. So if he could improve maybe £5 or £6 Time Hill, then he's definitely capable of beating Paisley Park judged on the Newbury form, and of course there's a good chance he will do that. So it's a fascinating clash at the top of the market, but I prefer Paisley Park.
I prefer Time Hill. There you go. So it's one of those, isn't it? 2-1 the pair. It's been pretty much all this week. If you watch back that Albert Bartlett, go to your members section now, watch the replay. Watch Richard Johnson as he crosses the line. It's sort of been forgotten about. He punches the air. It's almost like he's won the race. He's obviously in complete anger because he's been chopped up all over the place, isn't he? And then he had to switch on the running. For me, he was the moral winner. The race looks like it's going to be pretty strong. You've got Monkfish, of course, who's come out. Looks like he's going to be one of the star over novice hurdles. Fury Road, who got the absolute run of the race. He's come out and won a Grade 2. Latest exhibition, he's probably got a good one in him as well. And Time Hill, you just think, I don't know, he was the moral winner for me. Don't forget, he hadn't been seen since winning that, probably what was a substandard shallow hurdle in December as well. Lots of improvement there. He's not been on a right-handed track yet. That would be the one issue there. Roxana, another one as well. However, now's the time you've all been waiting for. We need to go to David Pipe, of course, because there is a complete fly in the ointment in this race, David. You train him. Story of the season, story of the year. Main fact.
Yeah, he's been absolutely amazing, hasn't he? Last nine wins in a row. I keep saying to the owners, okay, we've had our fun now. We're going to get, we're taking on better opposition. We're going to get beat. I said to them that last time, and actually watching the race at Haydock turn into the home straight, I thought, it's not going to be today, but he managed to stay on strongly and probably got there plenty soon enough in the end. He has as you know, a very strange way of racing. He's very laid back. It's not pretty to watch, but he does then get the turbo boost on. Look, he has to improve again, and obviously Paisley and Dean Hill are the two to beat. What I would say is, obviously ground conditions are pretty important to us, and we're going to have that on Saturday. I think he might be a bit better going left-handed than right-handed. All his wins have been left-handed. I think that's just been the way it's worked out. The first time he ran for us was at Exeter, right-handed, and he ran a decent race that day. If we are ever going to beat them, maybe it might be on Saturday when we've got conditions in our favour.
Yeah, it was rain. I'm not too far away from Ascot, Dave, and it was starting to pour down again this morning. This is Friday morning when we're recording this show. Let's have a little talk about his story then, Dave. You picked him up for £6,000 then, basically. He had an injury, didn't he? He's got a bit of a quirk as well. He's by Blame, of course. Breeders' Cup winner.
Yeah, he's very well bred. His relations, I think, are graded horses in America. Obviously, he's not bred to be doing this job. Look, we bought him at the sales. He was good value at £6,000. We thought he'd be a good, fun horse for a syndicate. Obviously, never dreamed he'd end up doing this. When we first got him, he was unrideable. He used to run away with the jockeys, and then he'd sort of pull himself up. But we've gradually got to know him, and he's progressed and progressed.
And Fergus Gillard keeping the ride, not claiming 7. Your thoughts about that, Dave? People will be asking questions there.
Yeah, well, he's down to 5 now, but obviously he can't claim in this race. Look, he's got a great relationship with the horse, and after talking to the owners, we feel it's right to give the young lad another chance. He's had plenty of chances of late, and he's taken them. And yeah, you know, I mean, it was his biggest race that he won last time at Haydock in the Stayers Hurdle there, and this will be a big occasion for him, a Grade 1. But he's quite a laid-back fella, and you know, hopefully he won't find as much trouble in running with only 10 runners in the race this time, as it was a big field last time.
It looked like the Great Wood Cup was going to be his big target, Dave. Obviously 2 miles over Cheltenham. Scratch from that in the lead up to the race. Then he appears at Haydock. When was the decision made to go up to 3 miles?
Well, you know, he got away with it in lesser company, I would have thought. I mean, if you think back, he was a short price for the Imperial Cup, and we were going for the Imperial Cup before it was cancelled, before the festival last year. So, yeah, you know, now he's up in better company. You have to step him up a trip because of his style of racing. At some point, he will have some headgear on as well, to try and help him. So that's something that we will be doing probably in his next race, but we'll see how he gets on. Look, if he can finish in the first 3 on Saturday, it'll be fantastic in Grade 1 company, and it means, you know, he can stick to that company, and the owners will have even more fun.
All being well, Dave, then hopefully the path to the Stayers Hurdle is mapped out for him.
Well, he has to improve again, but we hope so. As I say, ground, because of his style of racing, ground is important to him. He loves the soft, heavy ground. So I would imagine, look, if he runs a good race on Saturday, he'll end up in the Cleve and then the Stayers Hurdle after that. If not, then we might be ending up back in the Thames.
I'll tell you what, you'd fancy him in the Cleve big time, wouldn't you? He's got that. He's such a versatile horse. Pat Cooney, let's come to you. Where are you going in the long walk?
I think that we're 2-1 each of 2 as we speak. I don't think they'll be shifting too much from that. In many respects, you could say both of the front 2, Paisley and Time, should be shorter, but it is the likes of David's horse, Main Fact, who's so popular with the punters. He's very much an each-way order of the race. Roxana is in there, and a favourable nod to Fiddlecrack. Unbelievably, won this in 2015. So there's plenty of popular horses who are going to be backed each way. So Pacey and Time, they merit being at the top of the market. My worry with the whole race, though, is the going stick. It's 4.3. And Paisley was a non-runner in this very race a year ago. I think the going stick was about the same. So it's going to be very, very testing ground. And that could be a reason to get the big 2 beat. Of course, David's horse loves the ground and so forth. I'm going to lean towards Time Hill. He should have won at Cheltenham, as you touched on. And he looked a horse that was really going places. And as you say, he hasn't gone on this way round before, but he just looked the up and coming next big thing to me. So I don't think there'll be much short of the front 2 in the market, but I'm going to lean towards Time Hill here.
Main race of the day, Main Fact. Let's hope it's the main headline on Sunday morning. Let's go up to Haydock then, 240. Well, it's going to be bottomless up there, isn't it? And it is the Tommy Whittle, this long-established handicap. Staying all the way, Graeme Rodway, come to you for your likely winner.
Yeah, it's Pop Rockstar for John Joe, and this one stays all day. He absolutely loves heavy ground. He won over hurdles at Haydock, 2 miles, 7.5 furlongs on heavy ground. So we know that he's going to go around there. And he was right back to form 2 outings ago. It was at Chepstow. He finished second in quite a hot handicap.
What happened last time?
Not sure. I just think it's always worth, putting a line through 1 or 2 bad runs. They're not machines, are
Was
they?
that
As we saw
Haydock,
before.
wasn't
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It was awful ground that day.
But I don't know. I'm always a believer that that horses have their good days and bad days, don't they? I mean, we saw last week with Goshen. I mean, it was too bad to be true, and maybe he just wasn't right on the day. They're not machines, are they? So I like horses that have proven course form and are coming back to a nice mark. And we know that Pop Rockstar handles Haydock. We know he likes soft ground. And we know he's on a good mark. So it's Pop Rockstar for me.
Lord Napier for me. Early days for this chap over fences so far, but watch back his Chepstow run last time. He's on a good mark as well, I think. Dave Pipe, have you had a look at the Tommy Whittle?
Yeah, I thought Hill 16 won first time out for Twiston Davis on very soft ground. Loves the heavy ground. Well placed to win a handicap hurdle at Newbury next time. So Hill 16 for me.
Yeah, he's almost doing a main fact Hill 16, isn't he? He's joined New Yard, gone way up in the ratings as well. Pat Cooney, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is 3 miles, 1.5 on Haydock heavy ground. So a good place to start is what will stay, what will act. So I think Sojourn of Anthony Honeyball looks the one. He won over 3 miles, 2 on heavy at Carlisle. So if you can do that at Carlisle, your stamina is absolutely guaranteed. Lightly raced horse, this one. He's only had 7 races. He's won 3. Just the 3 races over fences. He's won 2 of them. And he's got plenty of weight, but he's got Rex Dingle taking £3 off him. So he's just a horse that I think the handicapper, he may just have been hard to assess. He's got that plenty of improvement to come. He ticks lots and lots of boxes, doesn't he? Heavy ground, yes. Stamina, yes. Stable in form, yes. Good jockey on him, claiming weight. I think he might even go a favourite. I think it'll be tough to beat.
Tough to beat. It's going to be a tough old slog, isn't it? But we whittled through that one for you. Big calls time. Ooh, it's been a lively news week, isn't it? We could have gone this with hot topic. Southwell getting rid of the fibre sand. Do you know what? I spoke to a colleague about this, an all-weather guru. I won't name him. He said it was like losing a limb. Right? It's Southwell. If you're into your all-weather racing, if you're into racing in general, it's almost the mecca of all-weather tracks because it is a totally unique test. It's the only fibre sand track we have in this country. We've already got 2 Tapeta tracks, Wolverhampton and at Newcastle. Newcastle quite soon. They're tearing it up next summer and they're going to put Tapeta down in the thought that it's going to be the fairest all-weather track out there. We're going to see Gosden taking some more enables there. Of course, you remember Nable made a debut on Tapeta as well. Gosden's got a good record on 5%, by the way. But of all the years to do this, it seems like a strange decision to me. I have been informed that they would have to change the surface anyway next summer. That's something that all-weather tracks have to do from time to time. They have done it in the past and just put down another fibre sand surface. The likes of Mick Appleby, leading all-weather trainer. I don't want to call Mick's a smaller yard, but in 2020 with COVID, and we're talking about losing stables, this gives this track, of all the tracks in the country, gives the smaller stable a chance to get the big winners on the go. You wouldn't have had your La Estrellas, you wouldn't have had your Stangars. Tempering won 22 races there. What on earth is going on? It can't be a decision, of the area. Have you ever been to Southwell before, G?
No, it's not a million miles from me, but I've not made the trip down there yet.
It's a few miles away from Southwell. It's not like a metropolitan area or anything. They can't be having a Breeders' Cup. There's basically a train station. That's it. Of course, there's jumps track there as well. We'll get Dave Pipe's thought on this as well. Look, I can understand why they want to better themselves, if you like. But it's going to be a really, really sad day. There was a meeting on Thursday there. A Mark Johnson horse called Notation served up a demolition job. Matt Chapman was on track for Sky. And you could tell in his tone. He said, this is what we're going to miss. A horse that will struggle to win anywhere else. They go to Southwell, they find an extra leg. And punters are going to suffer as well.
I think your mate must love Southwell if he feels like he lost a limb.
There are a lot of people out there, loads of
Southwell,
leading...
isn't it?
Southwell, it is Southwell, yeah.
Sorry, I get in trouble with my pronunciation, particularly Navan is one that always gets the
there.
Irish. But anyway, yeah, back to Southwell. No, I don't really like the track, to be honest.
Yeah, but this is.
I don't like it. It's
lazy,
fibre sand,
G.
isn't it? It's fibre sand. Half the field are beat by halfway. And, you know, the ones in front never stop. They win by 1,000,000 miles, 10, 12, 15 lengths.
But a horse getting into a lovely rhythm that it's caters for a certain horse. Bookmakers are delighted with the fact, I think, you know, we've had some come out in the week, so it's going to be the you know, an absolute star of the all-weather tracks. Whenever you're hearing that from a bookmaker, we'll get to Pat Cooney in a minute. It can't be good for punters.
Yeah, but, you know, it's racing, isn't it? And we want competitive races, you know. And when you're onto Peta and synthetics, you get a lot of them, don't you? But I'm not sure.
Oh, all right, fair enough. Dave Pipe, what are your thoughts on this? I've got a feeling you might agree with G.
Well, I can't say I run too many on the all-weather, but I mean, the great thing about this country is we've got different tracks, undulating tracks, level tracks, and it's the part, you know, it's part of English racing. So if it's going to go to Peter as well, then it's just very similar to the other tracks, and some horses will suffer.
Okay, I had a bit of a rant there on being told, move on, move on. Fair enough. Let us know what you think. Get your comments in below. I know you'll be with me out there. Okay, G, big call.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that, like, lazy horses, you know, seem to make great stayers. As I was saying already, Barracuda, Ingles Drever, Big Bucks, you know, Paisley Park, they're all a little bit lazy, aren't they? Would you say, like, the best horses, like this is one of the great central paradoxes for me in racing, is that a lot of horses get stick, right, for being game, in my opinion. Now, you know, probably the greatest example, everyone says, well, you know, these stayers are real warriors, you know, they stay on forever, they really find, but are they really warriors? Or are the ones that are the real warriors the ones that will give you everything without you needing to ask?
We've probably got the perfect man to answer this on the panel.
Yeah, well, see, for me, one of the gamest horses in training was Archibald. Now, he took a lot of stick for not being game.
You're going to get a lot of stick for that, you know that.
People saying, well, he didn't fancy it, right? But if you look at Archibald, right, he gives you everything without you having to ask, doesn't he?
Apart from in the final 20 yards.
He's just travelling away and he gives you his top speed while he's cruising hard on the bridle. And then when you push the button, he can't go any quicker because he's already giving you everything without you needing to ask. That's a really horse that's a trying, is it? A horse that's game. In fact, I mean, I think, right, that having spoken to a few friends of mine who spoke to Paul Carberry, this was actually Paul Carberry's own argument about Archibald, was everyone gives Archibald stick, but actually he's the gamest in training because he gives me everything without me needing to ask. So my point is that there's a big paradox here. I think that people have a misconception about these stayers. I think a lot of stayers, really, they're not warriors. They're just lazy and you really need to ask them. The warriors are your Archibalds of this type, you know, your Sky Pirates, and even your Challenger Deluxe.
Unbelievable. Well, Dave Pike, it's perhaps unsurprising. I mean, we are talking to a man that's trained an Ascot winner, of course, but your numbers do go up when you look at your stats for staying chases, Dave. Is he talking absolute rubbish? Is he on Planet Rodway as usual?
He's definitely looking at it a different way, isn't he? Challenger the Luck, yeah, he was, you could put him in the Archibald category, really. You know, I thought he was going to win the King George one year. Seymour Business beat him. He came up there travelling. I prefer something like a Loch Derg, really, that is off the bridle but keeps on finding more for you.
A Buena Vista. There we go. There's a Pond House star. We're getting them all in, aren't we? Now we're not being so different. Pat Cooney, big call.
Yeah, it's just pertinent really with David being on the show, and it was relating to Vieux-Lyon Rouge when he won over the national fences. Of course, he went up 12 for that win. And I was keen to ask David, should there be two separate handicap marks for him? One when he goes over the national fences, and on that basis, the £12 is fair enough. But if you were to run in, say, our Bet 365 at Sandown in April, should you only have gone up maybe 4 or 5? So should the handicapper have two different marks for the horse?
Well, yeah, that's a good point, Pat. And you have to say with his track record that he is £10, £12 better over those fences. I mean, for example, I had Ramsey Vitelli in the race, and he was £10, £12 worse over those fences because he just didn't jump them well enough. So, he must find it easier over those fences, and perhaps you're right. The handicapper should, over the normal park fences, have a different handicap system for him.
There you go. Okay, some heavyweight calls. I think you'll have to agree. Back to Ascot then, the Berkshire Premium Track, and it is the 3 o'clock. Good luck, Ollie, in Spotty Silver Cup Handicap Chase. It's a big weekend, that, isn't it? 33 to 1 into 8 to 1. Holly Doyle on Sunday. What do we reckon?
Yeah, well, we've got this campaign going on, isn't there? There's a racing backed campaign. It's a bit like the Vote AP. I think that there's this race, isn't there, obviously? And I think that's going to affect the odds. I mean, I'd love to see her win it. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, there are a lot of people in racing who'll be voting for her, but obviously you've got, huge stars going up against her. It'd be fantastic for her, fantastic for sport, fantastic for racing. Could she do it?
Yeah, I think the fact she's come so much into the betting world just gives it an extra angle as well. Good luck, Holly. Who's going to win this? I thought it was simple. The conditional just wins, doesn't he?
No. I thought that this would go to Sub-Lieutenant.
Why?
He's got some very good form in Ireland.
He has. You've got to search back a little while.
You've got to go back a little while. But, I mean, last time out, he ran very well, I thought. And I like the jockey as well. Tabitha Worsley rides.
Oh, yeah.
She's very, very good, and she's able to claim £5 off his back. I think that Sub-Lieutenant's been ridden by Rachel Blackmore in certainly 2 of the last 3 starts. I think Tabitha Worsley is right up there with the top jockeys. Yet she's able to claim another £5 on top. As I say, I like sometimes if I find a jockey who I think is worth the claim, sometimes I'll add that into Sub-Lieutenant's form, for example. And that's what I've done here. Just thinking that Tabitha's maybe stealing a bit of the £5 there, and he might be a good price as a result.
Yeah, Tabitha Worsley on with that. She's a good pilot. No runner this year, Dave. If you could train one.
Yeah, I'll be with you, Dave. The conditional, he put in a career best last time. They dropped him £1 since the Ladbrokes race, and now he's back on his favourite soft ground. So the conditional for me.
Absolutely. Okay, Pat Cooney, what sort of price is he going to go off, do you think? And are you with him?
Well, I think at the start of the week he was 5-1. He's now tumbled all the way into 5-2. I think that's short enough. It's interesting when he did run in the Ladbroke and ran a mighty race to finish 3rd. He was very easy to back in the market, despite a real solid form book chance. Of course, that was his seasonal reappearance. I think maybe that was a factor in people going against him. But he ran ever so well. He must have had a hard race because that is a hard handicap. I don't think there's any real value in his current price. My eye's drawn to Espoir de Guy of Venetia Williams, and I thought this horse won well enough to Ascot last time. Unproven at the trip. That was over 2 and 5. This is now an extra couple of furlongs further. But it's Venetia Williams, Saturday, handicap, heavy ground, with a progressive type. That's been money over the years, and I think he's the one here.
Interesting race at Ascot, as ever. It's the Silver Cup. Right then, final big race preview for you. It's an absolute cracker. It always closes the curtain on this Saturday card at Ascot. It's the 3:35, the Betfred Exchange Handicap Hurdle. Dave Piper, I want to come to you with this. You've got a really interesting runner graduating out of the juvenile ranks. He was second in the Fred Winter. It's night edition.
Yeah, he's in good form. He won't mind the track or the ground. He loved the ground. Ran a cracking race in the Fred Winter. I have to say the form of the Fred Winter has worked out very badly this year. Everything that's run so far has been disappointing. But our fella's, he's grown, strengthened up during the summer. I think he'll run a decent race. It has just been a bit of a rush preparation, so we could have done with another 10 days with him. But it's a big race. We'll take our chance and hopefully, be a horse to follow this season.
Yeah, with his liking for Cheltenham, Dave, just quickly concentrating on him for the viewers out there, you've got to be looking towards March with him, surely.
I think we'd be looking towards all the big 2 mile handicaps with him. Obviously it's difficult sometimes for the 4-year-olds in their second season, but this one's slightly different in that he's matured, he's grown, he loves soft ground. He's got quite a good engine, but as I say, this might have just come 10 days too soon for him.
That's interesting. Okay, maybe a slight drift on him then. Watch out for a good one. Statistically, he ticks a lot of boxes. I know a few judges have told me that during the week. Who do you like, G?
I like last year's winner, Not So Sleepy. Absolutely bolted up in this last year, Dave. I was there, and he was on top the whole way. Heavy
Tumbleweeds
ground.
are going around after what happened last time.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah. You've got to forgive Orgs a bad run every now and again, or a bad day.
Another game individual, as Dave Pipe said before we were coming on.
He's £15 higher than last year, but he's obviously got a little bit wayward, but he's loads of talent on his day. And
why don't we like Buzz, the Henderson hot pot who's gone up? Is it the £11 rise that puts you off?
Well, yeah, and it's obviously a much more competitive race, isn't it, as well? Now, he's one of these who's obviously a massive potential improver. Of the improvers, I'd probably prefer Benson, who was the one who won at Sandown.
You put him up that day, didn't you?
Yeah, the listed handicap hurdle for Richard Newland. I mean, he's going forward really, really quickly, and he likes soft ground. But I just thought at the prices, I mean, Not So Sleepy going to be around like 22, 25 to 1 because everyone thinks he's a bit of a loon. But, I'm happy. He's got plenty of talent. After he won that race, Ascot, Tom Siegel put him up to win the champion hurdle.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and we know he's the pace in the race, don't we? I think that he will be a nice hare to aim at for Arrivederci, who fell last time at Haydock. But I think the best. I've taken a chance on him. Pat Cooney?
Yeah, this is an interesting betting race, really. I think at the top of the market, Buzz and Benson have just been put in by our odds compilers because of their form book chances. But the handicapper was there for both of their respective wins. So I don't think they'll get any shorter in the market. And it's that type of a race. I think it'll be a real competitive race. So I'd expect horses like Malaya of Paul Nicholls to be popular, Arrivederci, as you touched on. I actually fancy a horse called Lightly Squeeze. Now, he runs off 137. He was in front jumping the last in the Betfair Hurdle at Newbury, which would be just about a narrowly better race than this. Same handicap mark. He's had a wind up since he ran disappointingly last time. Harry Fry, Sean Bowen. Yeah, he's a fair price to me. So I'm a Lightly Squeeze fella here.
A proper 2 mile handicap to bring down the curtain then. Let's bring in the guys at myracing.com then, their weekly slots. Check out their website for expert analysis and tips. Big Twitter following as well. They're going in the 150, San Devassi at Ascot, and then up to Haydock in the 240. The Tommy Whittle, they think Sir Jean will complete the double. All right then, time for the weekend winners. I'm going to go first if you don't mind. Tommy Whittle for me. I'm really keen on Lord Napier. Toss up between him and the conditional, gone for the better price. Graeme Rodway.
I've gone on the weather actually in the listed race at Lingfield. There's the 2 o'clock there. Bangkok, who obviously was very, very classy last season on turf. Has got some very smart form, including over the course and distance when he won there. He comes in off a couple of disappointing runs. I think he ran in Bahrain last month. But if he comes right back to his best, he's in a different class to this lot, Bangkok.
Spreading it around so far. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, I'm off to Haydock, the 205. My horse is called Albert's Back, number 5, trained by Mick Easterby, Brian Hughes aboard. Here's the reasoning. He won at Wetherby on soft ground, so that's fine. The horse he beat that day was Half a Piece, who was in front of Cheltenham last week, and there was a heavy fall there. He made just the 1 half a piece that day, so the form's good. He won off 128 that day. It's 133. He went up £5 for winning by 3.5 lengths or so. I could make a case out he should have gone up a little bit higher, particularly in respect of the runner-up being an unlucky loser last time out. So Albert's Back, got a lot going for him. 205 Haydock, mine out.
Interesting treble so far. Dave Pipe, complete the 4-timer.
Well, I'm going to have to stay loyal and go with Main Fact to make it 10 in a row. He'll love conditions, and hopefully the first 2 in the betting won't like the conditions as much.
Fantastic. There are your weekend winners, a 4-timer to home in on. Thank you, Graeme Rodway.
Thanks, Dave.
I'll see you over the festive period, no doubt.
Yeah, Boxing Day, I think, is our next date. So,
happy days. Pat Cooney, thank you very much.
Yeah, always a pleasure, and good luck to Main Fact and David on Saturday.
Yeah, we will be filming next week. Don't you worry about that. And thank you, David Pipe, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. You enjoyed yourself, Dave?
Yeah, it's been good fun, guys. Thank you very much.
All the best with Main Fact. I think punters are going to latch on to that one a little bit now. Let's hope you've enjoyed the show out there. Myself, Dave Orton, signing off then. Another week's What a Shout. Enjoy the sport, but remember, safe gambling. That's our MO here at the Racing Post. Christmas is a-coming. And don't forget to download the free Racing Post app. An excellent app we've got. You can do that on the Google Play Store or the App Store itself. Don't forget, of course, to like and subscribe to this show as well. And more importantly, enjoy the sport.